Hey guys, Miss Parrish here. I just wanted to come to you guys kind of quickly to do a little review. Today, your assignment is going to be to do a Module 9 review. Like we've talked to you guys about, Module 9 includes exponents, prime factorization, and order of operations. Okay, you are having a quiz on this on Friday. So your assignment today is going to be to complete a review assignment of this material. So we wanted to just come and do just a little short video. Hopefully this won't take too long. We want to do a short video and just review each section so you will be familiar with how to do the assignment and so you feel a little more prepared for the quiz on Friday. Okay. Now, what I have pulled up is a copy of one of our old study guides for Module 9. This is back when you did them on paper, um, but it's set up very similar to your review. It is set up very similar to the quiz. Okay, it just has different numbers in the problems, but the sections are set up the same. So this should be very helpful to you as a review. It'll be helpful to you before you do your review assignment today, and then, like I said, getting you prepared for the quiz on Friday. So just very quickly, we want to make sure that you understand what's expected in each section as far as how you're to work it and how you're to show your work. Okay, so let me just kind of briefly, we may not do every problem in every section, but I do want to make sure that you understand how to do this. So this first section, which is similar again to your review and your quiz section, says to use exponents to write each expression. Okay, now this is very important. All right, they're asking you to use exponents. So think back to when we did the exponents unit. We called this format that you see here in 1 through 5, we called this expanded form. Okay, that was when you wrote the power out in expanded form, the number times itself, however many times you see there. So for this section, there's no work to show. Okay, you'll notice at the top it says show work for problems 6 through 20. So for 1 through 5, there's no work to show, and that will be similar in review and quiz. So make sure you're reading each section and paying attention to where you have to show work. Okay, so again, for this section, it says use exponents to write the expression. So guys, all you have to do on this section is take each expanded form in each problem 1 through 5 and write it as a power with an exponent. Okay, now remember, the number being multiplied together times itself is called your base, and remember that was the big number in an exponent. So to answer this question, I would write my big number is 3 because 3 is the number that is being multiplied times itself. That is the base. And the exponent is going to represent how many times 3 is multiplied times itself. So we want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 3 is multiplied times itself 8 times. So I would write this answer as 3 to the 8th power. And that's all you have to do. So 1 through 5 should be very easy. Okay, let's look at number 2. You've got 8 multiplied times itself. Okay, so that means 8 is my base. How many times is 8 multiplied times itself? Count 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8 to the 4th power. Okay, I always tell my kids to take your pencil on your paper and touch it to each one, especially when you have a lot like a number 1. You don't want to accidentally miscount. So number 3, again, we're writing it with an exponent. Now, we did not cover these in class. So one reason we wanted to do this review also was to show you what to do if you had decimals or if you had fractions. Okay. So for this part, guys, you're still going to write your number that's being multiplied as your base. Okay. Even though it's a decimal, you still write it as the base. So we have 10 and 6/10. So 10 and 6/10 is going to be my base still. Okay. That's the number that's being multiplied times times itself. Doesn't matter that it's a decimal. And the same thing for the exponent. The same way we did 1 and 2, you count how many times is it multiplied times itself. 1, 2, 3. So I would multiply, or I mean not multiply, but I would write my exponent as 3. So for this one, you have 10 and 6/10 to the 3rd power. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here. All right, let's look at number 4. Now, you have a fraction, but once again, when you're writing writing it as an exponent, it doesn't change the way that you saw or way that you write out the problem, okay? You have 1/2 multiplied times itself. So that means 1/2, okay, is my base. All right. Again, to find my exponent, all I have to do is say, okay, how many times is it multiplied times itself? Count that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one thing I am going to do is since there's a fraction, I'm going to put parentheses around it and then put my little 4. Because sometimes when you write that fraction and you put that exponent in there, the exponent can look like it is with the top number. Sometimes people write them like this. And if you did that, that could almost look like 14, or it could look like the exponent 4 only goes with the 1. So anytime we write a fraction, we want to put parentheses around it, just so that means that the exponent of 4 goes with the whole thing. Okay. And on this last one, we have another decimal. We have 2/10 multiplied times itself. So that is our base. How many times is 2/10 multiplied times itself? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's all you do on that first part. Whatever number is being multiplied times itself, whether it's a whole number, a decimal, or a fraction, that will be your base. And then your exponent is just simply how many times has it been multiplied times itself. Okay, so don't be intimidated or, with a decimal or fraction. You're going to write it down the same way as you did the whole numbers. Okay. For 6 through 10, now remember, these are the sections where you would show your work. Okay. So for 6 through 10, it says find the value of each power. Guys, what that means is you're going to evaluate, or another word for that is solve. Sorry, I'm doing this from home. It's hard to write with that pen sometimes. So you're going to evaluate or solve these. Now, remember when we did exponents last week? To do this, it's currently in exponential form, meaning it's written with an exponent. If you remember, we had the 3 forms. We had exponential form, which is what it is now. Then we had expanded form. That's what you see in 1 through 5, expanded form. That's where you draw out the multiplication or write out the multiplication. So for this one, 4 to the 3rd power, that means 4 times itself 3 times because my exponent is 3. So you're going to write that out hopefully much neater than I just did. 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, that is expanded form. You have to write out your expanded form. That's part of showing your work. And then you want to find the answer. That's finding the value. So you would say, what is 4 times 4? 4 times 4 is 16. Probably don't want to mark it out there like I just did, and then 16 times 4, if you're not sure, go to the side and work it out. That's 24, carry the 2, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. So this becomes 64. So you want to write out the expanded form and then work your answer. And I know Mr. Harden and Miss Klein expect the same thing. Okay, so no matter whose class you're in, when you work this section, write the expanded form and then your answer. Okay, so for the next one, 12 to the 2nd power, that would be 12 times 12, which is, if you know your 12s, that's 144. Okay, so this is how you're solving these and showing your work. Okay, expanded form. Now, this one's a little different. 17 to the 0 power. If you remember when we taught exponents, okay, the exponent tells you how many times you see that number there. But we had a different rule about the 0. If you remember the rule, if you look back at your notes, anytime you have an exponent of 0, no matter what number it is attached to, your answer is going to be 1. Okay, that's just one of those little math rules. I know we showed you that in your notes, how if you break it down, it becomes 1. So that's all you have to put for this. This is the only one where you don't have to show any work. Okay, any number to the 0 power equals 1. Okay, remember that. That's, like I said, that's on your exponent notes. And guys, when you're doing this review, when you're doing your review homework, please look back at any of your notes. Please look back if you need to go back to any of the videos or rewatch this one, or look back at any of your notes. If you want to pull out your textbook and look at Module 9, the examples in there, that will all help you as well if you're stuck on something. So again, anything to the 0 power just equals 1. Okay, 1/3 to the 4th power. So I'm going to write out 1/3 times itself 4 times. It's not as easy to write on this. Okay, so I've written my expanded form, and then I can multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1. Anytime you multiply 1 times itself, no matter how many times, it's going to be 1. You're not adding, you're multiplying. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3, if you don't know, you can go work it out. That's 21, carry the 2. So this becomes 1 over 81. Okay, 1 over 81. Same thing with the decimal. Okay, you're still going to write it in expanded form. We have 1 1/10 to the 2nd power. So that means 1.1 times 1.1. Write out that expanded form. Okay, remember, like I said, that is going to be expected on this section. Okay, you can multiply this out. 1.1 times 1.1. We've multiplied decimals before. 1 times 1, 1 times 1, drop a 0. 1 times 1, 1 times 1. Remember to move out 2, move into. So this becomes 1.21. Okay, remember you're multiplying, not adding. So again, 6 through 10. Find the value of the power. You have to show your expanded form and you have to solve it and get the answer. Okay, now I'm not going to work every one of these on these next 2 sections because we just did these Monday and Tuesday in class. But I just want to make sure you know what to do here. Now, for 11 through 15 or whatever numbers they are on your review and your quiz, when you get to prime factorization, it says write the prime factorization using exponents. Now, this says factor tree. You can check with your teachers, but I told my kids you could do the tree or, oh, I'm having a terrible time writing tonight. The tree or the cake method. Okay. So when you do your prime factorization, most people I talk to like the tree, but that's okay. If you like the cake, you can do the cake method as long as you are showing your work. Okay. We need to see trees or we need to see upside down cakes. We need to see you writing out the factorization, the circling the prime numbers. I know I talked to Miss Klein today and she had a lot of kids who was not showing their work correctly. I haven't even checked mine yet, so I can't say anything yet about my class. But make sure that you are showing your work, whether you're doing the tree or the cake, just like we did in the lesson, circling the prime numbers, writing out the factorization. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple of these, not all of them, to save time. So if I'm doing 24, I'm just going to do the tree. That's my thing. You remember you can break it down into any 2 factors of 24. Okay, I could do 2 and 12. I could do 4 and 6. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do 4 and 6. You still will get the same answer either way you start it. So find any 2 factors of that number. I'm using 4 and 6. Neither of these numbers are prime. Remember, if you've got your prime number list, remember prime numbers only have 2 factors. Okay, numbers with only 2 factors. 2 is the only positive number that is prime. All right, I'm positive even number. I'm a hot mess tonight. Sorry. 2 is the only even number that is prime. Okay, most of the everything else is going to be some sort of odd. Not every odd number is prime. Okay, 21's odd, it's not prime. But refer to that prime number chart either in your lesson on your notes, or if you were in class last Thursday, you should have got a yellow copy. Okay, if you can't find those, you can Google prime number chart and that'll help you. So remember, we're breaking these down until we have nothing but prime numbers. So 4 breaks down into being 2 times 2. Now 2 is prime. I told my class and in the video that you want to memorize that 2, 3, and 5 are prime. Those are the most common ones you'll use. Not the only ones, but they're the most common. 6 breaks down into 2 times 3. Guys, circle these prime numbers. Okay, that lets you know you're finished, and those are the numbers you're going to use for your final prime factorization. So remember, you circle the prime numbers, you write them in order least to greatest. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Okay, I had 4 circled numbers, I have 4 numbers written. So make sure now you're ready to write your final prime factorization. I'm running out of room, so I'll go right here. I have the number 2. How many times do you see it? 1, 2, 3. It's there 3 times. So 2 to the third power times 3. There's only one 3, so I can just leave it like that. Okay? So 2 to the third power times 3. That is your prime factorization for 24. Again, make sure if you're doing the tree or the cake, you're showing your work as you work your way down. And then circle your prime numbers and write your final prime factorization. Okay, I'll do one more. 42. I could break it down into 2 and 21. Can also do 6 and 7. Okay, 6 times 7. 6 is not a prime number. I know this because it's even and it's not 2. 2 is the only even prime number. So I've got to break it down. 7 is a prime number. You can look at your chart or you can think to yourself, what do I multiply to get 7? I can only use 1 and 7. So if there's only 2 factors, it's prime. So 6 breaks down to be 2 times 3. I know both of those are prime. So for this one, I've got to rewrite it as 2 times 3 times 7. Now they're only written one time. So guys, I'm actually finished with that. There's no way to write that as a prime fact with exponents because they're all only written there one time. You can only use the exponents if they're there more than once. All right. So that's your prime factorization. Tree or cake method, you must show your work, circle those prime numbers, and write your final prime factorization. Last section on the review and the quiz is order of operations, solving using order of operations. Remember, this is PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. The P tells us to work parentheses first. The E tells us to do exponents first. Remember, when you do get to multiplication and division, you look for both of them, and if they're both in the problem, you work them in order from left to right. Once you've completed all of those, you should be down to addition and subtraction. Okay, they're kind of like multiplication and division. You look for both of them together. If they're both in the problem, you work them in order from left to right, whichever comes first. Okay, so let me work one couple of these. So let's move this one over here just so we've got space to work. Okay, this will be number 16. So when I look at this, it's a good idea. I told my class it's a good idea to write PEMDAS at the top of your paper. So when you're looking at that, it helps you remember the order to solve the problem. Okay, so PEMDAS, the letter P is first. That tells me to look for parentheses. So I actually do have parentheses. Remember, when we do order of operations, you follow PEMDAS, and when you're working it out, you should be making a cyclone. Okay, you're going to rewrite each step as you go, and then till you funnel it down to the answer, and it should look like a cyclone. So we have parentheses. I'm going to underline the part that I'm working with. I'm going to rewrite 27 divided by 3 is 9. Now you'll notice an exponent out here. That means when it's on the outside, that means it needs to go with whatever answer I get on the inside. So since I got 27 divided by 3 is 9, I'm going to tack that exponent onto the 9. Okay, it's not attached to the 3 directly, and it's not attached to the 27. It's on the outside of the parentheses, so that means it goes with that. So I've done parentheses. The next letter in PEMDAS is the E, exponents. I have an exponent right here. So I need to do 9 to the second power. 9 to the second power means 9 times 9, which is 81. It's not 9 times 2. Remember, you don't multiply the base and the exponent. So this is 3 times 81. And now I'm down to the last step. There's nothing else to do but multiply. So 81 times 3 8 and 3 is 24. So this becomes 243, and that's where we made our cyclone. Okay. Questions on that one? I don't know why I'm asking if you have questions. You're not here in the room with me. I told you it's been a long day. So sorry. All right. I'm going to jump down and do number 20 just because it looks a little different than the others. Okay. So I'm going to write it over here. We've got 17 plus 8 to the second power over 4. Okay. So again, think about your PEMDAS. Start with the P for parentheses. Do we have parentheses? No, we do not. Do we have an exponent? Yes, we do. Okay, so the first thing I got to do is deal with that exponent. 8 to the second power means 8 times 8, which is 64. So this is going to be 17 plus 64 over 4. Okay, now when you see this like this, if you were in class yesterday or watched the video, we had a problem in your notes that was set up kind of like this, where you had um, we called it like a fraction. So basically, it's like almost like an improper fraction, in which case we divide. Okay, so you're always going to divide. So we have 17 plus. You're not going to add the 17 and the 64. Okay, remember you don't ever do addition before multiplication and division. You do multiplication and division first. So when you see this like this, that looks like a fraction, improper fraction, you are dividing. So 4 into 64 goes one time. 424 6 times. So this becomes 17 plus 16. Okay, my 64 divided by 4 is 16. And so now I only have one thing left to do, which is to add 17 and 16. Again, anytime you need to go to the side and work something. And that becomes 33. It's not the best cyclone, but you get the idea. Okay, so just to recap, when they ask you to use exponents to write the expression, there's no work there. Your number being multiplied is your base. How many times it's multiplied is your exponent. Does not matter if it's a decimal or a fraction. You still do that the same way. The number being multiplied is your base. How many times it's multiplied is your exponent. When the section says find the value of each power, that means you're going to evaluate it and solve it. Okay, so you're going to take the number with the exponent, the power. You have to write it in expanded form. Okay, 4 to the third power is 4 times itself 3 times. 12 to the second power, 12 times itself 2 times. Remember, anything to the 0 power is just automatically 1. No work to show. 1/3 to the fourth power is 1/3 times itself 4 times, and so on. And then you will multiply those out to get the answer. So expanded form and then the answer. When you do your prime factorization, remember factor tree or cake method. Break the number down until you have nothing but prime numbers. Circle the prime numbers. And then write out your prime factorization and then simplify it with exponents if you can. Lastly, order of operations. Remember PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division from left to right, addition, subtraction from left to right. Okay, remember you are making a cyclone here because you are rewriting the problem with each step. Underline what you're doing in each step. Look for parentheses, look for exponents, then look for multiplication and division, then look for addition and subtraction last. Okay, you again use your textbook module 9 if you need to go look at any more examples, review any of the previous PowerPoints or notes to help you. And as always, you can ask your teacher, myself, Miss Klein, or Mr. Harden. I hope this was helpful. I tried to keep it short. I know y'all are not a fan of super long videos. So again, I hope this helped you guys a little bit. Please review that. Do your review assignment today. Make sure you submit a picture of your work to your teacher with that assignment, okay? And use this to review for your quiz on Friday. And you again, you can join any of your teachers' meets this week for additional help. I hope you all have a great day.